I became an economist really by coincidence, and then an actuary, and then found myself deeply involved in the insurance industry. In the 50 years that I'm in the insurance industry, I always use the insurance mechanism as a leverage to do things in sort of unrelated areas. And that's my expertise. In the beginning of the 80s, there was an attempt to increase the food production in the entire Latin America, Central and South America. The US government did a huge project and hired many agricultural experts to help those countries. In order to employ new technologies, to have better seeds, fertilizer, irrigation, or whatever in agriculture, they need financing. And I don't know of any banker that would lend money to a farmer somewhere in Bolivia or Peru or wherever. So we came, 3 insurance people, and suggested a different approach to create an agricultural insurance plan in those countries. So this new type of insurance became a guarantee for the banks. The end result was in those countries where it succeeded, it has increased substantially the food production within a very short period. Risk management is analyzing the risks and opportunities that the world has. Most people look at it as threats, but I'm talking about it as opportunities. Without risks, there would be no change in the world, and we'll be frozen. We'll be doing exactly the same thing as our parents did and our grandparents and great-grandparents did. I'm trying to solve major challenges of the world, major challenges through insurance mechanism. I started YKC Center after I became more environmentalist in my risk management problems. A student asked me a question about how to analyze the risks of the world. We started to answer the question on the blackboard. The bottom line was that the main risk of the world lie not in the economics, but rather in the environment and in the societal structure. Yeah. Challenge number 1 would be to guarantee the retirement security of the young population of today. The millennials, due to the low interest rates that are prevailing now, are practically not saving. And if they are saving, they are not saving enough, especially at the time that longevity is increasing rapidly, about 4 months per year. The second challenge that we have to solve are environmental challenges that the world has now. All these require tremendous amounts of money. Our goal is to make the world a secure and hospitable place for the current generation and for the future generation as well. Governments are aiming for a higher GDP per capita, and the investors are aiming for higher yields, economic yields. And we completely ignore societal benefits. We completely ignore environmental benefits. So part of the paradigm shift is to work with different kind of metrics. The metrics is not just measuring the results of what we do. The metrics is really the compass, the dashboard that leads us toward the goals. These are expressed by the new 17 SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, that the UN has declared recently. 193 countries really signed to the SDGs, and they say that they are going to reach these goals by 2030. For example, things to combat the climate change. It requires a restructuring of our energy supply and use of more renewables. The accounting methods reflect the old goals, and practically they measure about 1/7 of the value of corporations, and they should be counted in a more or less uniform way, because it's no good that each person, each manager, or each firm, or each organization will use a different set of measures. So it has to be developed. It's not easy, but it can be done. In my childhood, I always was interested in adventure books, how people were tracing lost treasures. I didn't imagine that years later I'll find the treasures, I'll find trillions of dollars of treasures in retirement system. The only source of long-term capital in the world lies there. And it is divided into two areas. One is the social security system, and the other one is the private sector, the pension fund, the retirement funds, the insurance companies. Public sector is the social security, and it is a question of law and regulations, and it's fairly easy to implement. And also the money is public money, so it can go into a special part of the general budget and can be devoted to these impact investments only, by regulation. The private part is more challenging, although there is a lot of money there. Over the entire world, we are talking about $80 trillion already that are invested there and are managed by the insurance companies, and they see only part of the return on these projects. We, the savers, can jointly persuade the insurance companies to invest our money in a transformational way toward these SDGs and to reach those goals. Many governments, organizations, and businesses suffer from a vision problem. First of all, short-sightedness, because the horizon for decision makers is usually very short. It's maybe 3 years, 4 years, 2 years, so they can't work on the long term. Then it's narrow-sightedness sometimes. They focus only on one thing and they don't see sometimes the much wider picture. The billion to the trillion issue is a very important issue, and it has to be emphasized. Managers and politicians, governments, are usually thinking in terms of millions or hundreds of millions, maybe sometimes in terms of billions, but they almost never think in terms of trillions. So when we talk about the need to invest trillions per year, it means thousands of times more projects and a larger size of projects. We call it, in short, from billion to trillions. The B to T challenge requires a transformational change. We don't have much time. If we cannot do that, probably we'll reach a point of no return, and we have to make it, let's say, by 2020. In order to lead such a change within a short period of time, only 14 years or 13 years, we need a major change in the methods that are being used, in the managerial method. We have to develop a new capacity to deal with a huge number of projects. The most important people are the managers, including engineers, including the designers, and including the School of Business. And of course, also accounting. It's a paradigm shift, which means a different, new way of looking at things. It requires a lot of understanding and teaching to be done in many places in the world. And I was looking for a business mentor, somebody that knows how to deliver the message and how to train people to act differently, and then to establish a group of mentors and experts all around the world that will be able to do the same thing and to repeat this model and to create this paradigm shift, because we are lacking time. We have very short time to do things. We work with the top management of an organization or a company or a government or a municipality, and within 3 days, the people go through a paradigm shift. On the first day, without noticing, they change their point of view. The high yields are essential for any retirement programs, because without a high yield, you don't create an attractive retirement system. So it's a key element here. And this thing works in sort of a circle. By creating high yields on the retirement savings, you encourage people to save. Higher savings creates larger amounts of money to be invested in the impact investment. It creates more jobs. It creates better retirement system. So all in all, with one arrow, we solve so many challenges. We solve retirement, we solve employment, we solve readjustment of our entire economy, we create a better world. There is a difference between the private sector and the public sector in the way they measure the benefits of an investment. The public sectors, when it invests money, let's say in a solar power station, they see all the side benefits that we call externalities. These externalities include, for example, benefits to the health system, the decline in the pollution, the decline in acid rains, etc., etc. However, a private investor doesn't see it the same way, because a private investor investing in a solar power station sees only the revenue from selling electricity and doesn't see all these externalities. So therefore, the yield being measured by the private investor is by far lower than the yield that the public sees, if it is measured correctly there. In many countries, it has been done by either market mechanisms, for example, carbon trading and things like that, or through subsidies, or through minimum yield guarantees. We have to succeed in reaching the goals that we described earlier. Without it, there is no future for humanity, because the changes are happening at an accelerated way and really exponential way. It's natural that young philanthropists have to join us in this effort. A single person cannot pull himself or herself off the ground by pulling the bootstraps. However, a whole society can do that.